Personal life. In 1949, Buffett was infatuated with a young woman whose boyfriend had a ukulele. In an attempt to compete, he bought one of the diminutive instruments and has been playing it ever since. Though the attempt was unsuccessful, his music interest was a key part of his becoming a part of Susan Thompson's life and led to their marriage. Buffett often plays the instrument at stockholder meetings and other opportunities. His love of the instrument led to the commissioning of 2 custom Dairy Queen ukuleles by Dave Talsma, one of which was auctioned for charity. Buffett married Susan Buffett, née Thompson, in 1952. They had 3 children, Susie, Howard and Peter. The couple began living separately in 1977, although they remained married until Susan Buffett's death in July 2004. Their daughter, Susie, lives in Omaha, is a national board member of Girls, Incorporated, and does charitable work through the Susan A. Buffett Foundation. In 2006, on his 76th birthday, Buffett married his longtime companion, Astrid Menks, who was then 60 years old. She had lived with him since his wife's departure to San Francisco in 1977. Susan had arranged for the two to meet before she left Omaha to pursue her singing career. All 3 were close and Christmas cards to friends were signed Warren, Susie and Astrid. Susan briefly discussed this relationship in an interview on The Charlie Rose Show shortly before her death, in a rare glimpse into Buffett's personal life. Buffett disowned his son Peter's adopted daughter, Nicole, in 2006 after she participated in the Jamie Johnson documentary The 1% about the growing economic inequality between the wealthy and the average citizen in the United States. Although his first wife referred to Nicole as one of her adored grandchildren, Buffett wrote her a letter stating, "I have not emotionally or legally adopted you as a grandchild, nor have the rest of my family adopted you as a niece or a cousin." His 2006 annual salary was about $100,000, which is small compared to senior executive remuneration in comparable companies. In 2008, he earned a total compensation of $175,000, which included a base salary of just $100,000. He continued to live in the same house in the central Dundee neighborhood of Omaha that he bought in 1958 for $31,500, a fraction of today's value. He also owns a $4 million house in Laguna Beach, California. In 1989, after spending nearly $6.7 million of Berkshire's funds on a private jet, Buffett named it the indefensible. This act was a break from his past condemnation of extravagant purchases by other CEOs and his history of using more public transportation. Buffett is an avid bridge player, which he plays with fellow fangates. He allegedly spends 12 hours a week playing the game. In 2006, he sponsored a bridge match for the Buffett Cup. Modeled on the Ryder Cup in golf, held immediately before it in the same city, the teams are chosen by invitation, with a female team and 5 male teams provided by each country. He is a dedicated, lifelong follower of Nebraska football, and attends as many games as his schedule permits. He supported the hire of Bo Pelini, following the 2007 season, stating, "It was getting kind of desperate around here." He watched the 2009 game against Oklahoma from the Nebraska sideline, after being named an honorary assistant coach. Buffett worked with Christopher Weber on an animated series called Secret Millionaires Club with Chief Andy Hayward of Dick Entertainment. This series features Buffett and Munger, and teaches children healthy financial habits. Buffett was raised as a Presbyterian, but has since described himself as agnostic. In December 2006, it was reported that Buffett did not carry a mobile phone, did not have a computer at his desk, and drove his own automobile, a Cadillac DTS. In contrast to that, at the 2018 Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting, he stated he uses Google as his preferred search engine. In 2013 he had an old Nokia flip phone and had sent 1 email in his entire life. Buffett reads 5 newspapers every day, beginning with the Omaha World-Herald, which his company acquired in 2011. Buffett's speeches are known for mixing business discussions with humor. Each year, Buffett presides over Berkshire Hathaway's annual shareholder meeting in the Quest Center in Omaha, Nebraska, an event drawing over 20,000 visitors from both the United States and abroad, giving it the nickname Woodstock of Capitalism. Berkshire's annual reports and letters to shareholders, prepared by Buffett, frequently receive coverage by the financial media. Buffett's writings are known for containing quotations from sources as varied as the Bible and Mae West, as well as advice in a folksy, Midwestern style and numerous jokes. In April 2017, Buffett, an avid Coca-Cola drinker and investor in the company, agreed to have his likeness placed on Cherry Coke products in China. Buffett was not compensated for this advertisement. Health. On April 11, 2012, Buffett was diagnosed with stage I prostate cancer during a routine test. He announced he would begin 2 months of daily radiation treatment from mid-July. In a letter to shareholders, Buffett said he felt great, as if I were in my normal excellent health, and my energy level is 100%. On September 15, 2012, Buffett announced that he had completed the full 44-day radiation treatment cycle, saying it's a great day for me and I am so glad to say that's over. Wealth and philanthropy. In 2008, Buffett was ranked by Forbes as the richest person in the world with an estimated net worth of approximately $62 billion. In 2009, after donating billions of dollars to charity, he was ranked as the second richest man in the United States with a net worth of $37 billion, with only Bill Gates ranked higher than Buffett. His net worth had risen to $58.5 billion as of September 2013. In 1999, Buffett was named the top money manager of the 20th century in a survey by the Carson Group, ahead of Peter Lynch and John Templeton. In 2007, he was listed among Time's 100 most influential people in the world. In 2011, President Barack Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Buffett, along with Bill Gates, was named the most influential global thinker in Foreign Policy's 2010 report. Buffett has written several times of his belief that, in a market economy, the rich earn outsized rewards for their talents. His children will not inherit a significant proportion of his wealth. He once commented, "I want to give my kids just enough so that they would feel that they could do anything, but not so much that they would feel like doing nothing." Buffett had long stated his intention to give away his fortune to charity, and in June 2006, he announced a new plan to give 83% of it to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He pledged about the equivalent of 10 million Berkshire Hathaway Class B shares to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, worth approximately $30.7 billion as of June 23, 2006, making it the largest charitable donation in history, and Buffett one of the leaders of philanthrocapitalism. The foundation will receive 5% of the total each July, beginning in 2006. The pledge is conditional upon the foundation's giving away each year, beginning in 2009, an amount that is at least equal to the value of the entire previous year's gift from Buffett. In addition to 5% of the foundation's net assets, Buffett joined the Gates Foundation's board, but did not plan to be actively involved in the foundation's investments. This represented a significant shift from Buffett's previous statements, to the effect that most of his fortune would pass to his Buffett Foundation. The bulk of the estate of his wife, valued at $2.6 billion, went there when she died in 2004. He also pledged $50 million to the Nuclear Threat Initiative, in Washington, where he began serving as an advisor in 2002. In 2006, he auctioned his 2001 Lincoln Town Car on eBay to raise money for Girls, Incorporated. In 2007, he auctioned a luncheon with himself that raised a final bid of $650,100 for the Glide Foundation. Later auctions raised $2.1 million, $1.7 million, and $3.5 million. The winners traditionally dine with Buffett at New York's Smith & Wollensky Steakhouse. The restaurant donates at least $10,000 to Glide each year to host the meal. In 2009, Ralph Nader wrote the book Only the Super Rich Can Save Us, a novel about a movement of billionaires led by Warren Buffett and featuring, among others, Ted Turner, George Soros and Barry Diller, who used their fortunes to clean up America. On C-SPAN Book TV, Nader said Buffett invited him to breakfast after the book came out and was quite intrigued by the book. He also told Nader of his plan to get billionaires all over the world to donate 50% of their estate to charity or good works. On December 9, 2010, Buffett, Bill Gates, and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg signed a promise they called the Gates-Buffett Giving Pledge, in which they promised to donate to charity at least half of their wealth, and invite other wealthy people to follow suit. In 2018, after making almost $3.4 billion donations, Buffett was ranked third in the Forbes list of billionaire 2018. Warren Buffett continues to help fund and support his family's individual foundations, which include Susan Buffett's Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, Susan Alice Buffett's Sherwood Foundation, Howard Graham Buffett's Howard G. Buffett Foundation, and Peter Buffett's Novo Foundation. Warren Buffett is also supportive of his sister Doris Buffett's Letters Foundation and Learning by Giving Foundation. Political and public policy views. In addition to political contributions over the years, Buffett endorsed and made campaign contributions to Barack Obama's presidential campaign. On July 2, 2008, Buffett attended a $28,500 per plate fundraiser for Obama's campaign in Chicago. Buffett intimated that John McCain's views on social justice were so far from his own that McCain would need a lobotomy for Buffett to change his endorsement. During the second 2008 U.S. presidential debate, McCain and Obama, after being asked first by presidential debate mediator Tom Brokaw, both mentioned Buffett as a possible future Secretary of the Treasury. Later, in the third and final presidential debate, Obama mentioned Buffett as a potential economic advisor. Buffett was also finance advisor to California Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger during his 2003 election campaign. On December 16, 2015, Buffett endorsed Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton for president. On August 1, 2016, Buffett challenged Donald Trump to release his tax returns. On October 10, 2016, after another reference to him in the second 2016 presidential debate, Buffett released his own tax return. He said he had paid $1.85 million in federal income taxes in 2015 on an adjusted gross income of $11.6 million, meaning he had an effective federal income tax rate of around 16%. Buffett also said he had made more than $2.8 billion worth of donations last year. Buffett said, "I have been audited by the IRS multiple times and am currently being audited. I have no problem in releasing my tax information while under audit. Neither would Mr. Trump. At least he would have no legal problem." This was a response to Trump saying he was unable to release his tax information due to being under audit. Healthcare. Buffett described the healthcare reform under President Barack Obama as insufficient to deal with the costs of healthcare in the U.S., though he supports its aim of expanding health insurance coverage. Buffett compared healthcare costs to a tapeworm, saying that they compromise U.S. economic competitiveness by increasing manufacturing costs. Buffett thinks healthcare costs should head towards 13 to 14% of GDP. Under the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the CMS actuary has projected healthcare costs will reach almost 20% of GDP by 2020. Buffett said, "If you want the very best, if you want to spend $1 million to prolong your life 3 months in a coma or something, then the US is probably the best." But he also said that other countries spend much less and receive much more in healthcare value, visits, hospital beds, doctors and nurses per capita. Buffett faults the incentives in the United States medical industry, that payers reimburse doctors for procedures, fee-for-service, leading to unnecessary care, overutilization, instead of paying for results. He cited Atul Gawande's 2009 article in The New Yorker as a useful consideration of U.S. health care, with its documentation of unwarranted variation in Medicare expenditures between McAllen, Texas and El Paso, Texas. Buffett raised the problem of lobbying by the medical industry, saying that they are very focused on maintaining their income. Taxes. Buffett stated that he only paid 19% of his income for 2006, $48.1 million, in total federal taxes due to their source as dividends and capital gains, while his employees paid 33% of theirs, despite making much less money. How can this be fair? Buffett asked, regarding how little he pays in taxes compared to his employees. How can this be right? He also added, "There's class warfare, all right, but it's my class, the rich class, that's making war, and we're winning." After Donald Trump accused him of taking massive deductions, Buffett countered, "I have copies of all 72 of my returns and none uses a carry-forward." Buffett favors the inheritance tax, saying that repealing it would be like choosing the 2020 Olympic team by picking the eldest sons of the gold medal winners in the 2000 Olympics. In 2007, Buffett testified before the Senate and urged them to preserve the estate tax so as to avoid a plutocracy. Some critics argue that Buffett, through Berkshire Hathaway, has a personal interest in the continuation of the estate tax, since Berkshire Hathaway benefited from the estate tax in past business dealings and had developed and marketed insurance policies to protect policyholders against future estate tax payments. Buffett believes government should not be in the business of gambling, or legalizing casinos, calling it a tax on ignorance. Trade deficit. Buffett viewed the United States' expanding trade deficit as a trend that will devalue the US dollar and US assets. He predicted that the US dollar will lose value in the long run, as a result of putting a larger portion of ownership of US assets in the hands of foreigners. In his letter to shareholders in March 2005, he predicted that in another 10 years' time the net ownership of the US by outsiders would amount to $11 trillion. Americans would chafe at the idea of perpetually paying tribute to their creditors and owners abroad. A country that is now aspiring to an ownership society will not find happiness in, and I'll use hyperbole here for emphasis, a sharecropping society. Dollar and gold. The trade deficit induced Buffett to enter the foreign currency market for the first time in 2002. He substantially reduced his stake in 2005 as changing interest rates increased the costs of holding currency contracts. Buffett remained bearish on the dollar, stating that he was looking to acquire companies with substantial foreign revenues. Buffett has been critical of gold as an investment, his critique being based primarily on its non-productive nature. In a 1998 address at Harvard, Buffett said, "It gets dug out of the ground in Africa, or someplace. Then we melt it down, dig another hole, bury it again and pay people to stand around guarding it. It has no utility. Anyone watching from Mars would be scratching their head." In 1977, about stocks, gold, farmland and inflation, he stated, "Stocks are probably still the best of all the poor alternatives in an era of inflation, at least they are if you buy in at appropriate prices." China. Buffett invested in PetroChina Company Limited and in a rare move, posted a commentary on Berkshire Hathaway's website stating why he would not divest over its connection with the Sudanese civil war that caused Harvard to divest. He sold this stake soon afterwards, sparing him the billions of dollars he would have lost had he held on to the company in the midst of the steep drop in oil prices beginning in the summer of 2008. In October 2008, Buffett invested $230 million for 10% of battery maker BYD Company, 1211, which runs a subsidiary of electric automobile manufacturer BYD Auto. In less than 1 year, the investment reaped over 500% return. In May 2018, BYD's shares had a substantial fall with a total net investment loss of $9 billion. This was Buffett's worst investment in China. Tobacco. During the RJR Nabisco, Incorporated. hostile takeover fight in 1987, Buffett was quoted as telling John Gutfreund, "I'll tell you why I like the cigarette business. It costs a penny to make. Sell it for $1. It's addictive. And there's fantastic brand loyalty." Buffett, quoted in Barbarians at the Gate, The Fall of RJR Nabisco. Speaking at Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated's 1994 annual meeting, Buffett said investments in tobacco are fraught with questions that relate to societal attitudes and those of the present administration. I would not like to have a significant percentage of my net worth invested in tobacco businesses. The economy of the business may be fine, but that doesn't mean it has a bright future. Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. Coal. In 2007, Buffett's Pacify Corp., a subsidiary of his Mid-American Energy Company, canceled 6 proposed coal-fired power plants. These included Utah's Intermountain Power Project Unit 3, Jim Bridger Unit 5, and 4 proposed plants previously included in Pacify Corp's Integrated Resource Plan. The cancellations came in the wake of pressure from regulators and citizen groups. Renewable energy. Native American tribes and salmon fishermen sought to win support from Buffett for a proposal to remove 4 hydroelectric dams from the Klamath River. David Sokol responded on Buffett's behalf, stating that the FERC would decide the question. In December 2011, Buffett's Mid-American Energy Holdings agreed to buy a $2 billion solar energy project under development in California and a 49% stake in a $1.8 billion plant in Arizona, his first investments in solar power. He already owned wind farms. Expensing of stock options. He has been a strong proponent of stock option expensing on corporate income statements. At the 2004 annual meeting, he lambasted a bill before the United States Congress that would consider only some company-issued stock options compensation as an expense, likening the bill to one that was almost passed by the Indiana House of Representatives to change the value of pi from 3.14159 to 3.2 through legislative fiat. When a company gives something of value to its employees in return for their services, it is clearly a compensation expense. And if expenses don't belong in the earnings statement, where in the world do they belong? Technology. In May 2012, Buffett said he had avoided buying stock in new social media companies such as Facebook and Google because it is hard to estimate future value. He also stated that initial public offering, IPO, of stock are almost always bad investments. Investors should be looking to companies that will have good value in 10 years. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. In an interview with CNBC in January 2018, Buffett said that the recent craze over Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies won't end well, adding that when it happens or how or anything else, I don't know. But he said he would not take a short position on Bitcoin futures. In terms of cryptocurrencies, generally, I can say with almost certainty that they will come to a bad ending. Film and television. Aside from countless television appearances on various news programs, Buffett has appeared in numerous films and TV programs, both documentary and fiction. He has been a guest 10 times on Charlie Rose, and was the subject of the HBO documentary feature Becoming Warren Buffett, 2017, and the BBC production The World's Greatest Moneymaker, 2009.